I will now call the November 19th, 2012 Blue Springs City Council meeting to order. If you would stand with me, observe a moment of silence, and then I will lead you in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. And welcome those of you in attendance as well as those that might be watching on cable TV 7 to tonight's Blue Springs City Council meeting. The next item is the consent agenda. Are there items that need to be pulled? If not, I accept the motion for approval. So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Corbell?
Aye.
Councilman Levesey?
Aye.
Councilman Fowler?
Aye.
Councilman Carter?
Aye.
Councilman Edmondson?
Aye.
Councilman Bowerman?
Aye.
Carried unanimously.
Next, we have the introduction and reading of Bill 4240, annexing Tucker Plat 1. This is the bill that we had the public hearing on last council meeting.
I introduce it, Your Honor.
Okay.
First reading of Bill Number 4240, an ordinance annexing real estate to the city of Blue Springs, Missouri.
Move the bill be approved on its first reading and proceed with the second.
Is there a second? Second. Discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no?
Second reading of Bill Number 4240, an ordinance annexing real estate to the city of Blue Springs, Missouri.
Move the bill be approved on its second reading and assign the appropriate ordinance number.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Levesey?
Aye.
Councilman Fowler?
Aye.
Councilman Carter?
Aye.
Councilman Edmondson?
Aye.
Councilman Bowerman?
Aye.
Councilman Corbell?
Aye.
Carried unanimously, given ordinance number 4417.
Okay, next we have a public hearing on rezoning Tucker Plat 1.
Your Honor, for public hearing RZ-9-12-3669, I'd like to offer one exhibit, which includes the City Council information form with attachments, site location map, staff report with attachments, affidavit of publication and examiner on October 27, 2012, application with attachments, 185-foot notification map, names, addresses of property owners within 185 feet of the site, and a copy of letters sent to said property owners. These are all the exhibits I have to offer on behalf of the city.
Thank you. Mr. Allen, on behalf of the city.
Thank you, Your Honor, and Councilman. Again, before you this evening is a request actually by the city in conjunction with Tucker Properties LLC to rezone the property that you see on the overhead. This is just south of the Kansas City Southern Railroad, east side of Woods Chapel Road current alignment, and includes a portion of the Tucker Chiropractic property. You can see there kind of the triangle right in this area. The request is just over 1.11 acres in size. There are 3 separate lots looking to be rezoned from a portion here right along the railroad tracks that was until just moments ago located in unincorporated Jackson County, still designated as a county ag zoning designation, and the remainder has MF14 zoning designation to the south and east. I'll show you a little bit better picture. If you can zoom up here, here we go. This shows a little bit better the different areas and the zoning in place. This is the MF14 area here, this triangular piece. The rest was county ag. The request is to rezone the entire property to GB, general business, in order to make it all consistent and contiguous from Mill Drive all the way up to the railroad tracks. The Planning Commission heard this request, the public hearing last week, and they do recommend approval of the rezoning unanimously. In conjunction with this, the city is looking at a final plat for these lots as well in order to essentially just solidify what you see there and again conduct that kind of final lot alignment since it is now in the city, and again make that consistent with the zoning that's being requested for GB. With that, I'll stand for any questions.
Any questions, Mr. Allen? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak in support of? In support of? In opposition to? Opposition to? Close this public hearing. Who would like to introduce Bill 4241?
I'll introduce it, Your Honor.
Okay.
First reading of Bill Number 4241, an ordinance rezoning properties from MF14, moderate density multifamily, and AG County Agriculture to GB General Business.
Move the bill be approved on its first reading and proceed with the second.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no?
Second reading of Bill Number 4241, an ordinance rezoning properties from MF14, moderate density multifamily, and AG County Agriculture to GB General Business.
Move the bill be approved on its second reading and assign the appropriate ordinance number.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Councilman Fowler?
Aye.
Councilman Carter?
Aye.
Councilman Edmondson?
Aye.
Councilman Bowerman?
Aye.
Councilman Quabell?
Aye.
Councilman Levesey?
Aye.
Carried unanimously, giving an ordinance number 4418.
Next, we have introduction and reading of Bill 4242.
I'll introduce it, Your Honor.
First reading of Bill Number 4242, an ordinance approving the final plat for Tucker Plat, first plat lots 1 and 2, City of Blue Springs, Jackson County, Missouri.
Move the bill be approved on its first reading and proceed with the second.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no?
Second reading of Bill Number 4242, an ordinance approving the final plat for Tucker Plat, first plats lots 1 and 2, City of Blue Springs, Jackson County, Missouri.
Move the bill be approved on its second reading and assign the appropriate ordinance number.
Second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Councilman Carter?
Aye.
Councilman Edmondson?
Aye.
Councilman Bowerman?
Aye.
Councilman Quabell?
Aye.
Councilman Levesey?
Aye.
Councilman Fowler?
Aye.
Carried unanimously, giving an ordinance number 4419.
Next, we have a public hearing, rezoning George Ward properties.
Your Honor, for public hearing RZ-10-12-3679, I'd like to introduce one exhibit which includes City Council information form with attachment, site location map, staff report with attachments, affidavit of publication in Examiner on October 27, 2012, application with attachments, 185-foot notification map, names, addresses of property owners within 185 feet of the site, copy of letters sent to said property owners, and email from Ken Landis dated November 5, 2012, UDC Section 405.010 Use Table. These are all the exhibits I'd like to offer on behalf of the city.
Thank you. Ms. Allen, on behalf of the city.
Thank you, Your Honor, and members of the council. Before you this evening is a request to rezone properties that are currently designated as GB General Business and RC Regional Commercial, all of those to LI, Light Industrial. There are 10 different lots in question here, totaling just over 6.8 acres in size. You can see by the map there, it's a little bit dark. I see in the kind of the site location there, but there's RC zoning to the northeast corner of westbound 40 Highway and Woods Chapel Road, and the remainder is designated as GB. The properties proposed for rezoning, again, are located in the 40 Highway corridor, which is currently a mix of light industrial type uses, regional commercial, and general business as well. You can see the zoning there reflecting the same. LI, GB, and then again the RC, as I noted, kind of a mix throughout there. The uses, again, reflect that as well. The listed properties in surrounding area currently serving as a combination of light industrial and commercial uses that is conducive to the LI, or the light industrial zoning district. The applicant is separately applying for a conditional use permit at one of the locations, one of the lots, which is 3001 Southwest, westbound 40 Highway, which would allow vehicle repair. Again, it's currently a conditional use permit when it's located in the LI zoning district, and that's going before the Planning Commission, scheduled for December 10th. With that, the Planning Commission did review the same at their public hearing last week. It was noted, again, with staff's comments that, again, listed properties are conducive to the light industrial zoning districts, that is. The area is currently, again, a mix of light industrial with, and again, so the rezoning of these listed properties to the light industrial designation would not negatively impact the surrounding areas. The only comments and feedback we did receive was from just one property owner in their area, Mr. Landis, who again has provided the email, I believe is in the audience as well and may wish to speak on the matter too. But you can see to the north there is some residential. Staff did not receive any comments from any of those neighbors and the applicant can also address communication they had with the surrounding properties as well. One issue that came up that was discussed at the Planning Commission last week was again the fact that since there is a mix of this light industrial throughout here, all the shaded properties are under the one ownership, the George Ward Builders, Inc. And there was there's a recommendation by staff earlier this summer before the application was made to reach out to neighboring property owners to look at doing a larger scale light industrial rezoning, and that was discussed at the Planning Commission. And again, I believe Mr. Landis will speak to that as well. But hopefully the applicant can also address that in terms of what their interaction they had with some of the neighbors to look at more than just their properties, but try to do a larger district-wide rezoning. So staff is still open to that, seeing that, presenting that to the Planning Commission and to the City Council as well, should those applications come forward in the future. With that, I'll stand for any questions.
Any questions, Mr. Allen?
Yes, Your Honor.
Councilman Fowler?
Yes, relative to some of the concerns, we have seen some email traffic on it. You mentioned that they may address whether or not there was any contact before this specific application.
Right.
But I even want to go back even farther in history, because there was some reference given to when maybe the city rezoned this, and were the property owners brought aware of this, and when was that? And
Sure.
if you could talk to that for a moment.
That's a good question, Councilman, and I believe Mr. McDonald could probably answer some of that as well in terms of that past history. But the designations that you see, these double letter designations, GB, RC, LI, those came about at the most recent was 1996 with that was the last major overhaul of the Unified Development Code. Now, Mr. McDowell might respond in terms of when those designations maybe were put in place prior to that, but that's when, I guess, quote, the city rezoned the area, not just this property, but citywide changed designations to these designations that you see here.
I don't remember exactly when it was, Councilman Fowler, but it was back in that time period. And at that time, it appeared that that area was maybe moving more towards general business and then regional commercial, I think, came a little later. But some of the property was rezoned then, but all of the people would have been notified both by letter and would have been, of course, in the newspaper, published in the newspaper. And I don't recall any opposition to the changes at that time. Basically, the city has very seldom ever rezoned anything that the property owner wasn't in agreement with. So.
Okay, all right. Well, thank you.
Does that take care of your questions,
Yep.
Councilman?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Allen.
Thank you.
Is the applicant or representative in the audience like to come and be sworn in and speak in support of their application?
I do. Greg Grounds, 1401 Northwest Wildwood Drive, Blue Springs, Missouri. Your Honor, council members, it's always a privilege to come here, and I say that every time I come, but I think it's a Republican in me, because I believe in local control, and local control is shown maybe in its finest form at city councils that make the decisions that affect our lives instead of sending someone off somewhere else and doing that. A lot of ironies in this world. I had the privilege of sitting where you were at when this started in 1996, and we did do that rezoning. My client does not deny that they got some kind of notice, but at the time they just didn't think it was going to make any difference. And at that time, the belief was that we would see more of the general business type uses there. And that was before Adams Dairy exploded and all the things that have happened there now, so that we see, thank you, we see that a lot of those uses haven't happened and there are a lot of empty buildings, and they'd like to revert back to the light industrial that it heretofore had enjoyed, and there are some reasons for that specifically. One of the things that would be allowed in light industrial is some manufacturing, but it's light manufacturing without significant outdoor storage, and some of the uses would be like marble refinishing, the shops you sometimes see in the metropolitan area where you go in and they have pieces of marble, and you tell them how you want it shaped, and it's finished in the building. Electronics assembly, furniture finishing, where furniture comes in and it's not totally finished, but it's either stained or otherwise worked and done otherwise. Auto repair is one. In fact, it was auto repair that brought about my client's attention to the need to do something. The business that's not before you tonight, but works on transmission repair, is in this same area, and it was in a smaller building, and it had one of those things that's great for us. It needed to expand to get bigger. It moved 2 doors down, but it lost its grandfathering in and discovered that because of the zoning and the need for a conditional use, it needed to reapply. And that brought to my client's attention the need to address the rezoning. There is no intent for any of the structures to change. After the Planning Commission meeting, there was one resident that I met out in the hall, and he just said, are they going to tear it down and build some new building? And that's not the case at all. The intent is to leave it just as it is with the tenants they have and fill in tenants as those become vacant. And with regard to the reaching out, staff, when I first met with them, had suggested perhaps the whole area might want to be rezoned. And my client, through his son David Ward, had done some of that reaching out, and the memories are different, and I think Mr. Landis will tell you that tonight. Either they talked at a restaurant when they ran past each other and it went no further, or there was a phone call, but there wasn't any intent to leave anybody behind. There was just never any positive feedback, or we would have included them in our application if we'd gotten the necessary legal descriptions and other information necessary to move forward. I'd be glad to answer any questions anybody might have about any of this.
Are there any questions of Mr. Grounds?
I have one. With respect to Mr. Landis's email, is there harm to your client in putting the brakes on this to see if you can form a bigger district?
No, I don't say there'd be harm, except that I don't know how quickly he will move forward. Some work has to be done regarding with your schedules, the Planning Commission schedules, and the holidays. I'm assuming that could be 6 weeks or so. So there's a possibility we could lose a rental availability. But what I might, if I could expand on that a little bit, is I don't see how there's any harm with us moving forward if the council agrees and then him going ahead and doing it. It's not as though it's a district that has to be done together, and certainly we will not be opposing if he makes that request. I'm told, I think it's Mike Butler, who owns another property in here, just said that he didn't have the time to put together the required documents and things, or he would have done something, and I think you'll probably be seeing another application within a few months. So I guess the question should come, should we wait till each of them moves forward? But you know, we're ready to go tonight, and we'll live with whatever you might say. Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Well, there's kind of another problem. I mean, waiting just doesn't solve the problem. State law requires that there be public notice in the newspaper and a certain time period. So basically, if we could continue these, but somebody else then would have to pay for the same notice and file the same paperwork, and that would make it harder for Mr. Ward to go ahead. But if you really held him too long, then all of a sudden he's going to lose notice, and he's going to have to file again and pay the costs of the court reporter and pay the costs of the notice in the paper again.
I'm sure he doesn't mind paying for his attorney again, but the notice may be difficult.
I gave you a break and didn't mention that.
Councilman Fowler?
Yes, I think Scott Allen said this, but just for the record, one more time, all the black area up there is all the property in that area owned by your client?
George T. Ward, yes.
Okay, and then so that to the east, or to the east, there's some LI over there, and then, you know, between, but that's still GB and not owned by George Ward, so, or Ward Properties?
I don't know every ownership, but David is here, and we can swear him in, and he could address that.
Okay, well, I think I heard that from Scott, so that, if you feel comfortable with that.
Any other questions of Mr. Grounds? If not, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Is there anyone else in the audience who'd like to speak in support of? Anyone else in the audience like to speak in support of? In opposition to?
Yes, Mayor.
All right, come up and be sworn in.
You sound swear to testify about in this case, do you approve this on the Yes. Ken Landis, 22517 East 33rd Street, Fort South, Blue Springs. Mayor and Council, thank you for letting me address my concerns.
I want to thank Mr. Ward for bringing this to my attention. I own 4 of the 5 parcels that are in the donut hole in the center of Mr. Ward's property. The other owner is Blue Springs Automotive, and he couldn't be here, but he has the same feelings that I do about this. In 1984, when I purchased the property under discussion, the property was zoned LI. There's several tenants in the area that were LI occupants then, and there's still several in the area that need LI that are grandfathered in. The 2 businesses that were previous tenants in the property I owned were a steel fabricator and a cabinet shop, LI type tenants. They, sometime after 1984, the city initiated the zoning change to remove the LI classification, rezone it GB and RC, I believe, and Mr. McDonald says we received letters, so I'm sure that he's right. I won't say that we didn't receive any letters, but I do know that there weren't any of the big blue and white signs out in front of the property like there are now. So I can't say whether we received anything. If we were, we just weren't aware of what was happening. These are some of the reasons I think the LI zoning should be restored. I've been negotiating with a manufacturer of sporting goods equipment for about 4 months and have told him that he could come into that building of mine. Now I find that I've misled him because he can't come into that building. This is a very clean manufacturing. It's quieter than a Walmart store. It's cleaner than a Walmart store. Be a great business. They're not asking for any tax breaks, not asking for any incentives. All they want to do is operate a business in our city. Since the school district put the bus storage facility in 40 Highway, there's very little LI zone property in the city limits now. This area has traditionally been a home for contractors and material suppliers for the construction industry, and those businesses require outside storage. The property I have has been grandfathered for outside storage. If I no longer had outside storage there, of course, I'd lose that grandfather clause. And this was compounded when a few years ago the city passed an ordinance outlawing outside storage in GB type applications, I believe. When the construction industry went into depression 4 years ago, most of the contractors and material suppliers in Blue Springs closed their businesses, causing the city to lose a lot of jobs and sales tax revenues. The construction will return to Blue Springs, and when they do, these businesses have little or no place to operate. The following businesses generated about $80 million worth of sales, taxable sales. United Building Center, 84 Lumber, Sun Lumber, the Fixture Gallery, Wynn Nelson, Warren Supply, Cornice Electric. 3 of these businesses are in that area. None of those businesses could return to that area, and the city will not get the sales tax revenues because there's no place in the city for these businesses to operate now. The contractors will still buy the material, but at least some independents will collect their sales tax. There's some businesses that remain in Blue Springs that produce about $25 million worth of annual sales that collect sales tax, and these businesses could not relocate in the city. That's HD Supply, Wynn Nelson Waterworks, and Blue Springs Beam. Blue Springs Beam is in the territory we're talking about. If the city hadn't passed the ordinance against outside storage, I believe that a waterworks and water meter business would locate at the old UBC lumberyard. That business also talked to me, and he had anticipated $10 million worth of taxable sales a year. He's decided to locate elsewhere because he couldn't find a place in Blue Springs where he could operate because of his outside storage. Wholesale businesses generate much more revenue per square foot than do retail businesses. An article in today's USA Today stated that large retail stores like Walmart, Kohl's, Kmart generate about $100 per square foot of annual sales. The wholesale business I operated in this area brought in $1,200 per square foot in the bad year. My best year, $2,200 per square foot. In fact, it brought in 22 times as much sales as a Walmart per square foot, and the sales tax that came along with it. That business couldn't relocate in that area. It's closed right now, and it can't open back up because it needs outside storage. Additionally, as you know, commercial property is assessed differently than residential property. And rental property or commercial property is based on the revenue the property produces. That property in there right now my rental property is producing 1/4 the revenue that it did 4 years ago. So my sales tax my property tax has been reduced by $12,000 a year, which came right out of the school district and the city's coffers. And it'll stay that way until I can get tenants back in there. I've got 3 suggestions for the council. I ask you to initiate a zoning change, as you initiated the last zoning change approximately 20 years ago, to restore the L1 to this area. And if you don't want to restore it to the entire area, do it to mine. Review your ordinance and outside storage to be sure it accomplishes what you want, rather than driving approximately $100 million worth of annual sales out of the city. That's it. Thank you for your time. Any questions?
I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
It sounds like you want the same thing that George Ward is asking for.
Exactly.
Okay, so why are you opposing it?
I'm opposing him only being zoned. I think we should be zoning the entire area.
Okay, so you want the city to bear the expense of doing it, and you don't want to do it individually like he's doing?
The city took away my L1 zoning. I'm asking the city to give me back what I had when I bought the property.
But you said you're negotiating with the client right now, right, that needs the LI?
Yeah, I don't know where he'll come or not, but I've been negotiating with him for about 3 months.
Okay, I think I understand.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Any other
Any
questions?
questions? Okay, thank you much. Anyone else in the audience like to speak in opposition to? In opposition to? Seeing none, we'll close this public hearing. Is there anyone who'd like to introduce it?
I'll introduce it, Your Honor.
Okay.
First reading of Bill Number 4243, an ordinance rezoning property from GB General Business and RC Regional to LI Light Industrial.
Move the bill be approved on its first reading and proceed with the second.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes.
And this is to Mr. Allen. Since we're going ahead and doing this, if Mr. Landis or the other property owners in that area wanted to come in, what all are they going to have to do that? Since the area already is going to be, surrounding them is going to be occupied, do they have to provide what documents, what fees? They don't necessarily need to get an attorney, I wouldn't think, on this, but
No.
what advice can we give them?
Sure. No, very good question, Councilman. The application fee is $425. It's just a standard application fee that Mr. Ward went through with this process. So they can combine multiple properties. We've told them that's allowable, like we do with annexations, for example, where multiple properties can come in under one application. Same thing here. It's one owner, but there are 10 separate properties. Does not mean
Correct.
10 separate applications. So it'd just be one fee with one application. We're certainly open to meeting with anybody, obviously, to walk through that application and make sure they have all the proper documentation. But you can see here, this is a map that we provide. They've provided a map with their application here tonight, but again, a lot of that is not absolutely necessary to make a complete application.
So we're really not incurring any huge financial sum in having them come in at a later date and getting this done?
We don't believe so. Again, that's not the intent of the application process. It's not to make it an onerous application. The cost is only a portion of what we expend in terms of staff time and, this hearing here tonight, the mailings, the postings on the property, things of that sort. So it's just a small piece of recouping some of those costs.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilman Cowell?
Thank you, Your Honor. Of course, I sit in on the Planning Commission meetings, and I asked some questions last week about this in regards to the process of what would be involved in the city picking this up. And I understood at that time, Mr. McDonald explained to me that there was theoretically some liability possibilities if there were a landowner in that area that didn't want to be rezoned. I do want to say that I understand that we are getting ready to relook at our UDC and our comprehensive plan, and whether or not these properties come in individually on their own between now and when that process is completed. I'd like for us to, I'm assuming, frankly, as part of that process, we will look at areas like this and see whether or not there are appropriate rezonings, just like 20 years ago where the city made a decision to do that. And I guess what I want to say is I'd like to encourage staff to make sure that when we do that process, we look at that.
Certainly, certainly.
That's it.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none?
First reading of
Yep, first reading.
Vote.
Oh, we did, we were having
We're in
discussion, so it's
discussion.
time for a vote?
Yep.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no?
Second reading of Bill Number 4243, an ordinance rezoning property from GB General Business and RC Regional to LI Light Industrial.
Move the bill be approved on its second reading and assign the appropriate ordinance number.
For a second?
Second.
Further discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Councilman Edmondson?
Aye.
Councilman Bowerman?
Aye.
Councilman Corbell?
Aye.
Councilman Levesey?
Aye.
Councilman Fowler?
Aye.
Councilman Carter?
Aye.
Carried unanimously, giving it ordinance number 4420.
Okay, that brings us down to Mural Announcements. I'm going to go to Thoughts Definitive first. Tonight's, as I promised, comes from Councilman Dale Carter. It said, "The pessimist complains about the wind, the optimist expects it to change, the leader adjusts the sails." Thank you, and that's from John Maxwell. Next, I'm going to ask our IT Director, Dan Hood, to come forward and just kind of give us a brief report on the police radio system. There are a lot of people that were involved in this. Dan was kind of the lead person, but I'm impressed because anytime you flip the switch on anything, you don't know if it's going to work or not. We flipped the switch and it works beautifully. Beautifully. There's what was the guy? He's dead now. Beautiful. What was his name? Bill Grigsby. Yeah, Bill. Beautiful. Lee. And so we're going to ask Dan to just kind of give us a brief report and recognize those people that were involved in that. And, you know, so something we were concerned about. We asked the voters to step up to the plate and support it. They did. And I will end with this comment. Like most projects we do, whether it's public works or with public safety, IT, or whatever, this project is a sub. Ahead of schedule, under budget. Dan.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Did you want me to sort of recap this, this communication? We went live on the new radio system last Monday, the 12th, high noon. It went very well. The cutover went very well. We never missed a beat. You know, I guess I would describe it as it was everything that we expected related to improved coverage, clarity of communications, and interoperability with other agencies. You know, we had the deadline of December 31st for the FCC deadline. We were, what, a month and a half ahead of that. As the mayor said, we were under budget. We were, let's see, close to $1 million under budget on the project, which was outstanding. And I just want to thank the project team. I'll go through these names because everyone contributed to the project and made it a success. Project team consisted of Chief Wayne McCoy, Captain Bob Morton. I have spent a lot of time with Captain Morton over the last year. Chris Sandy, Public Works Director. Chris Flathers from the IT Department. And then from CJC, Deputy Chief Ben Klopik and Associate Chief Paul Leninger. From Independence, Major Travis Forbes, Major Gordon Abraham, and Jim Lencioni, who is their radio expert. Jack Hart from Tusa Consulting, and then the entire Motorola project team. And the thing I noted to the mayor and Mr. Johnson was throughout the project, the one thing that really stood out to me, and Chief was in all these meetings as well, is we just had a great spirit of cooperation. We had multiple agencies there. And I mean, we had our challenges throughout the project. We had the challenge of the week, is what we said. But we worked through those things, and you know, it's great. I've been here nearly 4 years now, and worked on this project from my early days here. So it's been a lengthy project, and it's great when we, as the mayor said, flip the switch, and you know, we have officers come up to us and tell us just how great the system is, and how much they appreciate the new system. So thanks for all your support on the project. We appreciate the voters, appreciate all of your support throughout the project, and everyone that worked on the team. And I have a radio. If anybody's interested afterwards, I'll turn it on, and we can make a call to dispatch. I warned them we might be calling them.
Any questions or comments? If not, Dan, I applaud you and the entire team. Thank
you.
Johnson?
Your Honor, in keeping with the public safety theme tonight and the great work of the team on the radio system, and as Dan pointed out, it's been a project 4 years and maybe a little over 4 years in the making, and some of you may not have been on the city council when we initiated this initiative, but also on the consent agenda tonight, you approved a very important contract with Trainer Architects that will allow us to continue to move forward with the next biggest phase of our public safety initiative, which is going to be the expansion and remodeling of the police department. We're already under contract with Burns & McDonnell, and the project team has done great work interviewing a number of great qualified architectural firms. We're going to have our work cut out with this facility that was built in 1987 to figure out a way to maximize the existing structure to meet the needs of our men and women in law enforcement, to also meet the needs of our public, because this is a multi-purpose room and it gets a lot of use by court, city council. We are truly maximizing a building here, and so we're excited about that. That was a huge step, and we'll be moving forward now with the designing phase of that building, and so we're very excited about that, and we also have a tremendous team in place to help us move forward with that. So thank you, Your Honor.
You bet. You know, and certainly the city has grown a lot since this building was built. If you take a look on the plaque out in the building, my name was on there as an alderman. So you can tell that it's dated. And so we certainly look forward to having a new plaque put up with the reconstruction and the improvements here at the building. Chief, our officers are not here tonight, so we're going to have to reschedule them for another time.
Your Honor, they are out serving the public, and we're unable to get loose from that service.
I'd rather have them working than to be here before us.
Yes.
And for those that didn't have an opportunity, when I drove up, I made the circle around back, and one of those tarses are out there with the emblem on it. I don't know if you saw it or not. Now, I couldn't tell from my headlights, is that blue or black writing?
It is black.
It is black, so we're moving from the traditional blue. Okay. But it looked good.
It was selected by our officers. We had a number of different versions, and we put them out in a survey, and they overwhelmingly, by 59% out of multiple kinds, selected that as the one they wanted to appear.
Now, do we have just that one or 5 of them? Well, we bought 6, didn't we?
We have 9 vehicles, and they are being taken care of one at a time, and they'll each have to be converted. It takes about a week per vehicle to convert them over.
Okay, very good. So if you had not had an opportunity to take a look at it, I think we made a good decision. And the main thing, buy Blue Springs. That was very important.
Mr. Balderson is very happy.
Yes. Any other comments?
Just don't park them across the street, right?
Can you imagine that being told? Councilman Bowerman.
I didn't know, Your Honor, if you wanted to wish a happy Thanksgiving to our fine citizens in our community and what we have to be thankful for this Thursday.
You know, matter of fact, that's on my list that I had covered up, is that City Hall will be closed on Thursday, November 22nd, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So our employees will be able to have some time to spend with their families, which is very good, and we're happy that that's happening. And certainly we'd like to wish those in the audience, as well as those that might be watching on cable TV 7, a happy Thanksgiving. And one of the things that will be forthcoming, it will be the night after our next council meeting on December 4th, start preparing for the mayor's Christmas tree lighting ceremony. That's a big event. It grows every year, and regardless of how cold it is, we have a lot of people that show up. We have free hot dogs and cookies and hot chocolate, and we certainly want to, although they not seeking this, is Price Chopper steps up to the plate and does a very good job, Costantino. So anyway, we encourage you to get involved and enjoy your families over the next few days. My family's here from Atlanta, and we're enjoying them. Any other comments, questions? If not, I accept the motion to adjourn. So moved. Is there a second? Second. All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed, no? We adjourn.
You could dial up some weather like we're having this week.